In 1861, in the cold of a December night, the most powerful woman in the world lost her great love. When Prince Albert died, Queen Victoria's world did not just change, it ended. She put on a black dress of mourning, and for the next 40 years, until her own death, she would never take it off. She did not just mourn him, she enshrined the mourning itself. His rooms were kept exactly as he had left them, with hot water brought in for his morning shave every single day for 4 decades. She withdrew from public life, becoming a phantom in her own palace, a living ghost forever in conversation with the memory of a man who was gone. Her grief became her identity. This is not just a story about a queen from a history book. It is a story about a fundamental human pattern. A story about you. Because there is a room in your own mind where you do the same thing. It is a dark room, and the air is thick with the dust of old memories. The walls are covered in the faded pictures of old hurts. You believe you are haunted by the ghosts of your past. But what if the ghosts are not keeping you in that room? What if you are choosing to stay? This is not a haunting, it is an addiction, an unconscious and deeply human addiction to the familiar pain of your own past. This exploration is a journey into that dark room. We will not go there to fight the ghosts. We will go there to understand why you have chosen to live among them. And you will discover the alchemical secret of not just letting go of your past, but of transforming its leaden weight into the gold of your own wisdom. To understand this addiction, you must first understand a fundamental law of the human psyche. The ego, the I that you think you are, prefers a familiar misery over an unknown freedom. Your identity is a story you tell yourself, and the ego will cling to that story, even if it is a story of suffering, because the alternative is the terrifying emptiness of I don't know who I am. Your pain has become a strange and loyal companion. It has defined you. I am the person who was betrayed. I am the one who had the difficult childhood. I am the one who failed. These stories, while painful, are solid ground. They are a predictable reality in a chaotic world. Think of a prisoner who has spent 20 years in the same small dark cell. The day the guards come and swing the door open, showing him the bright, wide, unknown world outside, he does not run out with joy. He hesitates. He may even retreat to the back of the cell. Why? Because the cold floor, the damp walls, the predictable routine of his suffering, this is his home. The pain is his identity. The known misery of the cell feels safer than the terrifying, unstructured freedom of the world he does not know. This is the tyranny of the known. The ego is the part of you that craves certainty above all else. An identity built on old pain is a miserable identity, but it is a stable one. You know the lines to your own sad story. You know how it will end. There are no surprises. This addiction to pain gives you a false sense of control. If you are constantly expecting the worst, you are never disappointed. You can tell yourself, I knew it, when the next bad thing happens, because you have been living in a state of self-fulfilling prophecy. This is a bitter kind of control, but for the ego, it is better than no control at all. The brain itself reinforces this. Every time you replay a painful memory, you strengthen the neural pathway associated with it. It is like walking the same path through a forest every single day. At first you have to push through the undergrowth, but over time a clear, wide, and easy path is formed. Eventually your feet turn down this path automatically without even thinking. Your thoughts work the same way. You have walked the path of your old pain so many times that it has become the easiest, most automatic road for your mind to take. To let go of the pain would mean letting go of this identity, this story, this strange sense of control. It would mean stepping out into the blinding light of the present with no script and no map. And for the ego, the void of the unknown is a fate worse than a familiar hell. It is crucial to separate the ghost from the haunting. The painful memory is the ghost. It is a real event that happened. The past is real. But the haunting is the compulsive returning to the ghost. It is the act of choosing to live in that one dark room day after day. Imagine you have a deep cut on your arm. The cut is the original wound. It's real. A healthy process is to clean the wound, stitch it, and then protect it, allowing it to heal into a scar. A scar is a memory of a wound, but it no longer hurts. The addiction to pain is the act of reopening the wound every single morning. You wake up, you see the healing skin, and you pick at the scab until it bleeds again. You do this because the fresh pain is a familiar sensation. It reminds you that the wound is real. You have become more attached to the process of bleeding than you are to the process of healing. The cost of living in this one dark room is the forfeiture of the rest of the mansion. The symptoms of this addiction show up in every area of your life. In your relationships, you engage in a pattern of self-sabotage. You meet a new person who is kind, reliable, and present, but you are not seeing them. You are seeing them through the distorted lens of your past. You are like a person trying to drive a car forward while looking only in the rearview mirror. You are so focused on the road behind you, the bumps, the wrong turns, the accidents, that you cannot see the beautiful open road in front of you. The first time the new person is late, the ghost of your unfaithful ex whispers in your ear. The first time they need space, the ghost of your emotionally distant parent appears in the passenger seat. Because you are not looking forward, you inevitably swerve to avoid a ghost, and in doing so you crash the very real car you are driving in the present. This addiction also poisons your career and your creativity. You have a new opportunity, a chance to take a risk, to create something beautiful. But the ghost of an old failure stands beside you, a constant companion. You are like a tree that lost a major branch in a storm years ago. That was a real wound. But now, the tree refuses to grow any new branches. It spends all of its energy mourning the one that was lost. It tells itself, growing new branches is dangerous. They might break too. So it remains stunted, a living monument to a single past storm, while the other trees around it are reaching for the sun. Your potential is not limited by your past failure, it is limited by your loyalty to that failure. This addiction even takes a toll on your physical health. The body keeps the score. The mind can try to rationalize, but the body remembers the trauma. The constant low-level stress of reliving old hurts keeps your nervous system in a state of perpetual fight or flight. This manifests as chronic tension in your shoulders, a knot in your stomach, unexplained fatigue. Your body is the house, and if you insist on living with a ghost in one room, the entire house begins to feel cold, damp, and sick. And finally, this addiction robs you of your presence. Joy can only exist in the now, but your mind is a time traveler, constantly journeying back to the scene of the crime, re-examining the evidence, replaying the verdict. You are like a moviegoer who is so obsessed with the first sad scene of a film that they keep pausing and rewinding it over and over again. Look how sad it was, they say. Look at the injustice. They spend 2 hours analyzing the first 5 minutes and they completely miss the entire rest of the movie. The adventure, the romance, the triumphant ending. The present moment, the only place where life actually happens, becomes a ghost town, empty and devoid of life because you are always living in the first scene. So what is the way out? It is not, as you have been told, to simply forgive and forget. This is a shallow understanding. You cannot fight the memory. You cannot erase the past. The way out is an alchemical one. It is the art of extracting the wisdom from the wound. The painful memory is the lead. It is a heavy, dark, and seemingly worthless material. The modern world tells you to get rid of the lead. But the ancient alchemists knew a deeper secret. The lead is the essential starting material. Without it, there can be no gold. This is the task before you. You must become the alchemist of your own experience. The process is not complex, but it requires courage and presence. It happens in 4 stages. First, you must learn to observe without judgment. This is the act of separation. When the ghost of the memory appears, you do not fight it. You do not feed it. You do not identify with it. You simply notice it. You are not the storm. You are the sky watching the storm cloud pass. You notice its shape, its color, its texture, but you know that you are the vast, unchanging sky, not the temporary cloud. Second, you must begin the dialogue. This is the process Carl Jung called active imagination. You do not just observe the pain. You turn towards it with curiosity. You ask it questions. What are you trying to tell me that I have not yet heard? What part of my own strength was born in this moment of pain? What do you need from me now, in the present, to be at peace? You are no longer a passive victim of the memory. You are an active participant in its transformation. Third, you must reframe the narrative. This is the art of extracting the gold. You consciously change the question from, "Why did this happen to me?" to, "What did this make of me?" This is like a film editor. You cannot change the raw footage of what was filmed. The events are the events, but you have complete control over how the story is told. You can choose to focus on the shots of the tragedy, set them to sad music, and create a story of victimhood. Or you can choose to focus on the shots of the struggle, the resilience, the small moments of courage, set them to triumphant music, and create a story of a hero's journey. The footage is the same, the story is your choice. Finally, you must integrate the wisdom. This is the final stage where you carry the lesson, not the pain. This is the creation of the pearl. A grain of sand, an irritant, a wound, finds its way inside the oyster. The oyster coats the irritating grain with layer after layer of a beautiful, strong, and luminous substance. The wound is not erased, it is integrated. The pain becomes the core of a priceless treasure. The person who was betrayed can transform that lead into the gold of unbreakable boundaries. The person who failed can transform that lead into the gold of profound resilience. When you begin this alchemical work, the world begins to change because you are no longer a prisoner of your own story. This is a journey of liberation, and it happens in stages. First, there is a kind of withdrawal. When you stop feeding the addiction to pain, when you stop replaying the old stories, there is at first an emptiness, an uncomfortable silence. It is like a person who has worn a heavy suit of armor their entire life. The day they finally take it off, they do not feel free. They feel cold, vulnerable, and dangerously exposed. The armor was heavy, but it was familiar. This initial vulnerability is a sign that the healing has begun. You must be willing to sit in this not knowing to let a new identity slowly form. Then, you experience a massive return of energy. The psychic life force that you were spending every single day keeping the ghosts alive, rerunning the old tapes and feeding the old resentments, is now returned to you. It is a creative flood. It is the energy you can now use to build your present and your future. And with this energy comes the rebirth of joy. The addiction to pain creates a very low ceiling for joy. You cannot experience true, open-hearted happiness if you are always subconsciously braced for the next disaster, always filtering the present through the lens of past hurts. And it is like a garden after a long, hard winter. For months, the ground has been frozen, gray, and seemingly dead. When you break the addiction to your past, it is like the first warm day of spring. At first, nothing looks different, but then you begin to notice small green shoots pushing their way through the cold earth. This is the return of your capacity for simple, unburdened joy, a joy that is not dependent on circumstances, but that arises from the simple fact of being alive in the present moment. And finally, you realize the ultimate truth. You were never the prisoner. You are the owner of the mansion. The dark room of your past is still there. It is a part of your history, a part of your house, but you are no longer locked inside it. You now have the key. You can choose to visit the room, to look at the old memories, not with the terror of a victim, but with the compassionate wisdom of a survivor. You can look at the ghosts, and you can see that they are just that, faint, powerless images from a story that is over. You can learn from them, and then you can close the door and walk out into the many other sunlit, beautiful rooms of your life that have been waiting for you all along. You are not haunted by your past. You are the one who has forgotten your own freedom. And the moment you stop feeding the pain is the moment you remember how to walk out the door. To walk out the door. To walk